18. Jumbo shrimp hook. Every time I stand on this tee, I think of what John Cook said, standing there leading the tournament.
Oh, that poor guy.
I hit a jumbo shrimp hook. And
did it even get to the ladies' tees?
Barely. I mean, it was it was hard left. I'm a pilot, as you know, and when you fly over this, you look down there and you're like, no wonder I can never make par here. There's nowhere to hit it. I remember when Davis Love first played here, he was the first guy to say, look, you don't have to hit driver here. Of course, he had tremendous length even when he was coming out of North Carolina, but he was standing here and hit 1 iron off the tee and then hit 6 iron in. Hal Sutton hit 6 iron in here when he beat Tiger in the playoff that time. But Ricky Fowler, when he won here, hit sand wedge three times in a row. So the golf course is going to play a little different. The wind, as you can feel, is going to be different. You're not going to be able to feel it on the tee. You realize, Gary, when they first opened this golf course, that this was not the number 1 handicap or the number 2 handicap hole on the golf course, yet it was the hardest hole on the PGA Tour.
No, was number 14 considered?
Yeah.
Exactly. And Ricky Fowler hit driver sandwich. I don't think it's going to be possible. Right now, today, with the west-southwest wind, it's going to be coming in off of a right-handed player's left shoulder. It's going to be into him. That might help him steer a fade out there a little bit better, but then the wind's going to change at some point during tournament week. It's going to be east-northeast. That is going to maybe push those balls over there. I guess, you could play it far enough right and take your chances on a shot out of the rough. But again, this is like 17. The characteristic of this hole has changed an awful lot going back to March.
And when you look at this hole, most guys, when you hear commentary, they talk about, he likes to play the ball right to left. He likes to play the ball left to right. That'll have to do with the conditions here. If the wind is blowing as it is today, kind of in you and off your left shoulder, you better have a lot of confidence in what you're doing if you want to play this ball right to left off of this tee, because the water is absolutely unforgiving. The one thing that they've done, and if you remember, I'm trying to think, Graham McDowell once chipped the ball onto this green. It ran all the way on the green, ran all the way into the water. They've stopped that. It's got more of a fairness factor to it now.
Yeah, but this is still one of the great finishing holes
demanding
on the PGA Tour. Demanding. If you hit 3-wood, you can turn it over. I remember David Duval used to be a master. It was the only club he could turn over, was the 3-wood.
3-wood, yeah.
And he hit a beautiful 3-wood the year he won in the final round after he got done with 17. Craig Perks hit driver. If he'd have had 1-shot lead instead of a 2-shot lead, it might have been a little bit more of a disaster in 2002 because he was over there. I remember the one year when Fred Couples, I think it was the year that he finished in the top 5 when David Duval won. He hit 4 tee shots, and every one of them was further right every single day until he was up there in the stands and all that. And he says, I don't care where I'm hitting from out of there, it's still better than the alternative. And then once you get that tee shot, Adam Scott found out
that's what I was just about to talk about. 2004, I'm standing up on the hill, and you might remember they used to have the mechanical scoreboard up there. I'm standing up there with the assistant to the tournament director. And it was the first year that they were going to have the name inscribed on then the Crystal Trophy. And I was standing there with a guy, I think he was from Ireland, right, from Waterford. And Adam hit his ball down there, and I said, well, you can go put Adam Scott on there. And then he hit the ball in the water, and I told her, go get him and tell him to hold on. But then Adam, who had taken a chipping lesson from Greg Norman the day before, and more that morning, knocked it up there at 12 feet and rolled it in for the win. And was the first player I ever heard say, this is the tournament I've always wanted to win, because it had been televised in Australia. It was a golf course that intrigued him. That's why, I mean, you can't call him a dark horse, but he certainly could be a factor the way he's been
exactly.
playing.
And it was also a long line of Australians. Steve Elkington won it twice. Right. Greg Norman set the scoring record here that still may never be broken.
Right.
You're talking about unbreakable records right now. I think 24 under.
Yeah.
Especially
you think about that year when Norman won here. He shot 24. Fuzzy shot 20. Jeff Maggart shot
19.
19?
Yes, I think he did 19.
Right, and then everybody else was like down there.
No, you're right, he was 13, but 13. The top 3 all shot in the 60s.
Yeah,
every round.
And then everybody else was like single digits. So You want to talk about, and I know they tried to change the golf course, and they didn't like that kind of low score, but I'm telling you, this golf course, no golf course would have been a match for Maggart, Fuzzy, or Greg that week.
Mm-hmm. And Greg Norman could overpower golf courses. He was like the Tiger Woods back then. He could do that. Sam, very briefly, let's talk about the rough. They are not going to have the 5 or 6 inch rough that they had when it was last in March, the last few years in March. It's going to be about the height of the Bermuda, 2 3/4 to 3 inch Bermuda rough, 2 3/4 to 3 inch ryegrass rough. What's going to be the tougher shot?
The ryegrass rough is a little bit more difficult because on that last turn, it's so lush, it can fall down in there. Mm-hmm. And I just think that, I personally think, you've got more control over the direction it goes and less control over the distance it goes. Mm-hmm. And if there's one overriding factor about this golf course, and you said earlier, it makes you play through your whole bag. Mm-hmm. It's, if you pick the wrong club, you've got trouble. If it's 8 iron and you pick 7, or you pick 9, you've got problems.
And then there's going to be kind of an interesting dynamic on the greens. Superintendent Jeff Plotz says that they're going to be able to get the greens just as fast as Bermuda, but it's going to be a kind of a hybrid, overseeded rough. He said if they get the rain, we've had a little bit of rain, if they get the rain it's predicted to have between now and then, he said they're going to be receptive to shots, but the greens are going to be just as fast. Yep. Is that a contradiction, or is that just the way of this?
I mean, and that's why I think a shot maker, somebody who feels pretty comfortable standing over the ball, is going to be in contention come Sunday.
But he has to make some putts.
And, well, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
But if they speed it up, they get those things 12 or 13. Mm-hmm. If you don't hit it, every green is in quadrants. Mm-hmm. If you don't hit it in the right quadrant, you're going to have to make a 50-footer to make birdie.
We can't wait. Players Championship Week starting. Our coverage in the Florida Times Union, Jacksonville.com, including columns and stories from Sam. Sam's got his website, Sam Sports Line. You can follow him at Sam Kouvaris. Follow me on Twitter at GSmitter. Gene Fournette at Gene Fournette. Our special section comes out March 10th. And how about this win, Sam?
And how about how magnificent this is? By the way, every tour stop's not like this. This is truly, if this isn't a major, and it's not, it is a truly spectacularly significant sporting event.
Exactly. And it's the gold standard, as they say.
That's right.
Thanks a lot.